everybody, and welcome. I am Bricker Boom, and it's time to dive back into the Last of Us TV series. Now, this particular episode was covering the DLC, which I'm going to admit I am not as well versed in as you see me frantically just making sure that my notes are up and good to go. Um, so I'll be honest, in my opinion, this was kind of one of the slower episodes. A lot of people are calling it filler, which I don't necessarily agree with because obviously we know a little bit about Ellie's backstory, but we don't know a lot. Now, spoiler alert ahead, if you haven't played the DLC, I would recommend it. It is slightly different, but let's go ahead, let's not waste any time, and let's go ahead and hop into it here, because even though, again, I do feel like it was a slower episode, that does not mean that it is a bad episode in any way, shape, or form. So the reason that I wanted to point this out is that Joel is telling her to leave. In both the DLC and the regular game, as far as I remember, he was unconscious the entire time. But in this case, he is awake and telling her to leave and go back to Tommy, which is a huge difference. They've done a very good job at humanizing Joel in this particular instance. He's essentially faced with his own mortality, knowing that, yeah, I'm probably gonna die here. Now, obviously, in the video game and in the DLC portion, we didn't get to see this part of our backstory because, again, they're going to try to keep the action up and going as much as possible. However, I do like the fact that we are seeing the type of person that Ellie is. The type that if you mess with her, she's going to haul off on you and probably beat you up. Granted, the girl that ended up doing stuff deserved it, but I do like the fact that they're expanding on Ellie's character with every episode because, spoiler alert, she's the main character in the second one.
Your patrol leader will probably be Bethany.
Part of it is emotional manipulation, but it also does make you wonder if this person does actually even care a little bit about Ellie. I think that the emotional manipulation is probably more likely because at the very least he knows what gets under Ellie's skin. He knows that, yeah, she is a strong person that is capable of doing great things if she wanted, and it would probably look really good if he could make her behave, you know? Now, I like this because we do see in the game the no pun intended 2. We also see it in this. So just knowing that she also has the first one, it makes me happy.
Ow.
Ellie is ready to square up against this person. Now, it was a bad call from Riley, let's be honest, but I do like the fact that as soon as Ellie realizes who it is, that best friend mode kind of kicks in and immediately starts ribbing on each other.
Teaching you this at Firefly University?
Now, if you aren't aware, Riley is joining the Fireflies. This is something that did stick very close to the DLC. Riley has been gone for a while, snuck back into Ellie's room, and later breaks to her that she is joining the Fireflies and leaving because of it. So they are sticking pretty close to the DLC. Again, I think that's why most people are referring to this as a filler episode, because while it doesn't change the story, it just adds to it some.
Real? Bottle's real.
Now, the wife pointed out to me that in the video game, and again, all of these notes are basically from her, and I'm just adding in my own little 2 cents here and there, but they found the alcohol in the mall. That's the surprise that Riley has for her, going to a mall, trying on Halloween masks, video games, all that stuff. So the fact that they did find the bottle early is technically a difference. This scene alone is enough to make me want to visit an abandoned mall at least once. Obviously, if I could not have the zombies in it, that would be ideal. But I really, really enjoy this because for somebody that has spent her entire life in the QZ from the moment that she was born up until this point, this has got to be the most mind boggling experience ever. And we're about to prove that there are some things that we take for granted that she has never seen before.
Escalator? Escalator? No way. Backwards. Forwards. And backwards.
Now, the reason that I wanted to point this out is again, we take this for granted. Even when escalators are down, we're like, okay, they've temporarily become stairs. Fine. She has never seen this, and I really like this scene because, again, it shows us how much stuff that we have seen every day of our lives, or many times at the very least, and haven't thought anything of it. She's getting to experience this all for the first time. And also, you'll probably noticed that the song Take On Me was what was playing in the background while this scene is going on. If y'all remember, in the second game, that's what Ellie plays, I want to say at least once, but I want to say twice. I could be wrong on that. Clearly a reference and a call out to the second game.
Oh. Ta-da! You are just a graceful ballerina, but
If you have never done that once in your life, you are lying.
with my life, apparently.
Oh.
Keep in mind they are best friends. There was a little bit of flirting at the previous shop. Most of the flirting, I do believe, is a little bit more in the TV show. I don't believe that they showed as much in the video game. I think that we were just automatically invested in this, so they did have the time to show a little bit more development throughout this whole episode. So if I do miss something, it's just because I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously that's going to be different.
What?
So, to somebody that has never gotten to ride any type of ride, because, again, I'm sure they're trying to conserve as much electricity as possible within the Fedric UZ camps, this has got to be blowing her mind. Like, it's a very cute episode, but also a little sad just knowing all of the things that Ellie is never going to get to experience in her lifetime. So I like the fact that they are adding so much into this person's backstory.
Sewage detail.
So this is partly why Riley ran away to be with the Fireflies. She got put on sewage detail, and she wants to be able to do more with her life, essentially. And the Fireflies, from what it does seem like, the Fireflies are very, very good at finding these people who are a little more than upset or a little more than disappointed at the way things are going, and kind of targets these people. And again, it's all about manipulation. I truly believe these factions do not care about each other. It's just who can manipulate best. Now, as somebody who's been to a couple different arcade bars, I have to imagine this was incredible. I mean, just realizing that I can go to a bar and play video games and hang out with my friends was enough, but you don't got lines, you don't got other people that you deal with, just you and your best friend hanging out. Yeah, I could live that way. I don't know how it's possible to be legal to have that much swag and confidence in yourself.
Oh, fuck!
So, this is referencing one of the previous episodes where Ellie was talking about a character that essentially swallowed somebody and threw up the bones. I like the fact that they were able to go ahead and include that detail, showing Riley winning this game. I am curious if they did actually play, because that's just who I am as a person, and if you learn Mortal Kombat just for a scene like this, you're okay in my book. First of all, it's super kind that zombies wait, or walkers, or infected, or whatever you want to call them. It's super kind that they wait until the appropriate moment to go ahead and wreak havoc. But according to the notes that I have here, in the DLC, this wasn't a doll store. This was a medical store, because we do see in the DLC Ellie trying to get medical supplies for Joel. We do know that the DLC ends the same way. However, in this case, they kind of flipped back and forth between flashback and current time. In this case, it's just the flashback, and they just put the walker infected here.
Pistol? Better. Better.
I want to say that the water pistol is referencing in the DLC they do have a water gun fight while this is all going on.
Is it tacos?
I would be that excited for tacos today.
You're so pointless.
This is where she gets the second joke book, and I like the fact that, again, she is keeping it with her throughout the entirety of the game. It does show that even though Riley is gone, spoiler alert, she's not forgotten kind of situation. Now, this is different from the video game. We didn't see that Riley was going to be making these types of weapons. It's, again, very eye-opening to see how the Fireflies are behaving in the TV show in regards to the video game. They have done a very good job at kind of fleshing out the fact that these people are just kind of freedom fighters and will stop at nothing to overthrow the government. And the fact that they are essentially hiring on children, she's not even 17 yet. She turns 17 next month. They are hiring literal children to do their dirty work for them. I'm just kind of curious, in the comments below, what do you guys think of the Fireflies? Do you think that they're a bunch of shits? Or do you kind of agree with them? Would you be the type to stay in a Fedra QZ and kind of do as you're assigned? Do you think you would be a smuggler like Joel? I'm very curious what you think your job would be. Me personally, I'm not gonna lie, I've got IBS along with the fact that I need glasses and a few other joint issues. I'm probably gonna stick around and do as I'm told, as sad as it would be.
I would never let them do that.
You would never let them? Right, and you think they're gonna listen to you?
Honestly, that's a really good point from Ellie, is that these people don't care. They want to win. That's literally all that they want throughout all of this. So I don't know why Ellie thought that, or why Riley thought that they would listen to her. I'm also gonna just be a little bit bigger.
Marlene said no.
One thing that I'm very curious about, the fact that Marlene said no and then is later essentially taking care of Ellie. I'm very curious about how strained the relationship was, because in the video game, they did seem to be pretty okay with each other. Ellie was ready to defend her at a moment's notice. In this, they don't seem quite as close as they were, so I'm a little curious if we will get to see how they maybe met, how the relationship formed. I don't know.
Surprise.
So Ellie barges out and then ends up coming back and then hears screams, and it turns out that Riley wanted to surprise her one last time with a Halloween store, because I mean, when you're living in a world that has no type of holidays, no type of decorations, literally nothing, again, this would be mind-boggling. And we've all seen the stores like Spencer's, like Hot Topic, that just kind of carry this random stuff that I feel like Ellie would be super into.
Put it on, stupid.
Now, in my opinion, this was kind of the weakest part of the DLC. They do end up trying on masks in the DLC and everything else. It very much seemed like padding in a video game when we could have gotten more about their character, but instead we were trying on goofy masks and making sounds. In this, it makes sense, and fun fact, the song that they play as they're dancing around here in a little bit is the same song from the video game.
What?
Now, I want to say the kiss happens at the same moment in the video game, but I could be wrong on that. But, again, they did end up kissing in the DLC. That's how we find out that Ellie is a lesbian. And I like the fact that they ended up keeping that, because that was such an important part of her character, at least in my mind. I am very much the type that I don't really want them to change the characters in any way, shape, or form for any type of reason, unless it's to benefit the story. And in this case, changing her sexual orientation would not benefit the story. I don't see how changing Marlene, or not Marlene, Tommy's wife's character, I can't remember her name. I don't see how changing her benefited the story. It's not something that I'm necessarily complaining about because the personality of just a badass leader is still very much there. Now, I like this scene a lot because this is the first time that I feel like we are feeling some form of dread. As much as I hate to say it, a lot of the show, because they are focusing so much on the story, there isn't as much action as you would typically think. And it's just nice to see them actually focusing on a little bit of action. I think we've kind of gotten too used to TV shows like The Walking Dead and video games like Left 4 Dead and technically The Last of Us too, where there are just hordes of zombies that you end up taking out. This shows that a single zombie, especially to two kids, can be a very real danger. They do manage to take it out before getting torn apart, but as we know, they both get bitten, and Ellie is the only one to survive.
No, 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 no! No!
Yeah, that post adrenaline, after it begins to wear off and you start to realize what has happened, it's hard. They both know because at this point, as far as they know, nobody has ever survived being bit. So here is where it finally flashes to, now that we're towards the end of the episode, it flashes forward to Ellie searching for some sort of medical supplies for Joel. What she ends up finding is a needle and some thread. While I don't know how well that would work practically, at the very least, she is able to start sewing up the wounds to stop the bleeding, which is pretty huge, kind of important.
We could just be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together.
Now that is a direct callback from the video game. I'm not going to bother playing the clip because, again, it is word for word. Except it's Ellie saying that that's what Riley told her, which, again, is true. Yeah, so again, she did focus or find a needle and thread and is attempting to sew up the wounds. And from there, that's when the episode ends. So, I'm very curious about what the next episodes are going to look like. I do hope that we get to see some more badass Joel. I know what happens in the video game, but since they are focusing more on the human side and trying to keep this somewhat based in realism, I'm very curious what he is going to be like once he's back up and on his feet. But we still have a little bit more video game to cover and a little bit more TV show to cover. I hope y'all have been enjoying this series thus far. Again, I'm having a blast making it. I've got to read some pretty interesting comments about what y'all think of the TV show. But again, tell me what you think of the TV show. Tell me what you think of the review. Any comments definitely help. And as always, if you like the video, even if you didn't like the video, think about hitting that like and subscribe button because it really does help me out. And until next time, everybody, peace out.